Hello and welcome to Ask M&R Productions episode 158, the series where I answer your questions. If you guys have a question you want answered next week, leave it down in the comment section below and it could be chosen. If you enjoyed the series, make sure you give it a like, and let's get into it with our first question from J.A. Brick Studios. He says, do you like the LEGO Adidas shoes that came out? Now, a couple different versions have come out, actually. At this point, I think there's like more childish versions that are just kind of like monotone, like one bright, vibrant color. But as far as like the original ones that came out a couple months back, no, I like modernistic designs a little bit more. Like I like the cleanliness of a look versus like a dirty look like that. Like I can't get into something that's like 5 different colors, I feel like. Lemai the Red Panda says, what are your thoughts on EA losing its exclusivity rights to make Star Wars games and Lucasfilm games, and Ubisoft coming in to make an open world Star Wars game? So the open world Star Wars game makes a ton of sense. Like, of course that had to happen. Like, I'm very excited for what that could possibly be. I personally don't play a lot of games outside of Call of Duty and probably still won't play any of these that come out of this, but as far as like getting actual good diverse Star Wars games that people can enjoy, this is a great thing, right? You don't want to lock one company into being the only company that can make something, because otherwise you end up with something in the LEGO's case where they can't even make CMFs when minifigs are kind of their bread and butter for LEGO Star Wars. So it's kind of interesting how that's changing for Disney and Star Wars at this point, and I think the same has changed for LEGO Star Wars, where they can now make CMFs, but that's kind of a different topic, I guess. But yeah, it's great. They can now make games with different companies. That's awesome. Like, EA is a terrible company in some respects, and it's finally caught up with them, and they've lost their exclusivity rights. Good things all around. Little Quicksters says, I got the 2020 AT-AT LEGO set for Christmas 2020, and now I need a Snowspeeder. Should I buy the little 4 Plus Snowspeeder, or should I buy the 20th anniversary Snowspeeder for $130 on Amazon? So I picked your question for a big reason here, and that's the word Amazon. You should not buy a retired LEGO set on Amazon pretty much ever, unless it's being sold directly from Amazon by Amazon for retail price. I don't see any reason to ever buy something retired on Amazon, because you can almost, and I mean always, find it cheaper elsewhere. So in your example here, you want to know if you should buy the 4 Plus Snowspeeder or the 20th anniversary one, and I would absolutely go for the 20th anniversary one. It's leaps and bounds better than the Juniors model, especially if you're going to put it next to a really nice AT-AT. So if we look up the LEGO Snowspeeder on Amazon, you can see that at least right now, the cheapest one available of the 20th anniversary is going to be $114. That is a ripoff. You're wasting your money objectively. Like, you can get it cheaper elsewhere. So you can see it's obviously not being sold by Amazon. It's being sold by Toy City Inc. Who cares about them? We're going to go over to eBay now, and we're going to look up the same thing. And if we do lowest price, buy it now, brand new in box, you can see the cheapest you can get it for is about $90. So right off the top, you can save about $25 to $30 compared to what you'd be paying on Amazon. You might even be able to find one cheaper on Bricklink. I'm not sure. That was just the example that came to mind with eBay there. So yeah, buy the 20th anniversary one if you got the money, but don't buy it from Amazon. You're wasting your money. You could save some, quite a bit actually. Crusader Elite says, do you think LEGO Star Wars is still passionate about the sets they are making? I'm sure they are. I'm sure the designers care about what they're doing. Like, I know it may just be a job, right? Still at the end of the day, I guess. But I mean, I've been making YouTube videos for 10 years, and I still feel like I'm passionate about it. So I don't see why, like, someone putting LEGO sets together in Denmark wouldn't still be passionate about what they're doing. And on top of that, I'm sure some of the designers kind of come and go. So, like, you get fresh blood in there. Like, I just don't see why it would be a big deal. Basic Brick Mock says, a quote from me, actually, in the last video, I think. I said, you never see straight up re-releases of an older set. And then his response to that was, re-release the Emperor's Throne Room in 2020. See, I think my words may have either not been chosen carefully enough or you misinterpreted them. Straight up re-releases, right? The Emperor's Throne Room in 2020 is a remake. Yes, that is a complete remake, very similar in comparison to the 2015 version, but it is not a straight up taking the same thing and just selling it again, right? A straight up re-release, at least the way I meant it, was something in the case of like the Saturn V or the Ship in the Bottle very recently, where LEGO has taken the model that they originally released, then retired, and just brought it back exactly the same as it was with no changes. Usually when you see LEGO Star Wars bring something back, it has substantial amounts of changes to it. Even in the case of the Emperor's Throne Room, right? You would think those are like the same set. They're not. They are substantially different. Even though they're based on the same scene and they have very similar building styles, they're still substantially different builds. So I still stand by what I said. They rarely, if ever, re-release anything as it originally was. They'll almost always make pretty substantial changes, if not small changes here and there to tweak things, but it still can happen, right? Like I said, Saturn V and Ship in a Bottle very recently are great examples. LEGO LEGO Star Wars used to do it way back in the day, but that has since gone and they don't do that anymore. So yeah, it just doesn't happen a lot. Jandom Stud says, do you think LEGO will make a new Jango Fett Slave 1, and if so, when? Well, my previous hypothesis, I would have said 2022, but after seeing that they are making one for 2021, shockingly, actually, it's an even closer re-release, I think, than the X-Wing and TIE Fighter. While it does make sense to get a new Boba Fett Slave 1, right, like, fair enough, it's a popular ship right now anyway. I don't see why they wouldn't release one, right? It fits right in the wave. I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is so disappointing. I don't think it's disappointing at all to throw that in this summer wave, which is already a pretty damn good looking summer wave, if I do say so myself. And I'm hard to please. You watch the channel, you know. But as far as getting a Jango Fett Slave 1, that just seems entirely unlikely at this point, at any point in the near future. If anything, maybe 2025. I'm just throwing numbers out there at random at this point. Like, I can't tell you anything better than you could guess. But I would have assumed we would have got one in 2022 with the episode 2's 20th anniversary. I know we didn't get any 20th anniversary sets for episode 1, but like, it just felt like 2022 could have been the right time, and it looks like that's just not going to happen. Like, it just isn't going to happen. I'm going to be very honest. Like, I don't know for sure, I guess, but like, with one coming in summer of 2021, they aren't just going to make another one in 2022 with blue colors. Like, I find that highly unlikely. And what's sad about it is this set would have been perfect in that blue color scheme, right? You could have released a Jango Fett Slave 1 at $50, right? Substantially cheaper since it's less popular than the Boba Fett Slave 1, but you could have released it for $50, had the blue coloring instead of the, you know, green and gray and brown coloring of the Boba Fett Slave 1, but no, unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's the direction they're going in. It's just going to be a regular Boba Fett Slave 1 with Han Solo and Boba Fett. It's not like a newer paint job Boba Fett either. Although, with what they've done, they have put themselves in a position to be able to basically, in the span of 6 months, go, hey, here's this set. We're releasing this as is for 6 months. It's the Cloud City version of the Slave 1. But because of what happened with The Mandalorian that we didn't know was going to happen, they could basically go in, put in the new Boba Fett, put in a different character instead of Han Solo, let's say Fennec or whatever, like whatever fits with that. Probably Fennec would make the most sense. Or maybe even the Bill Burr figure. I think that would be a great figure to have in that set. And then basically keep that same Slave 1, slightly change out the background of the box art, and then release it with different figures. Done deal. Like, things like that can happen, ideally, but I've gone on a big tangent here, but I would love to see them do something like that. That had nothing to do with your question, but no Jango Fett Slave 1 anytime soon, even though I would have told you 2022 a week ago. Doesn't look like that's going to be happening at all. Burner Build says, how tall will the new tie stack be? So I forgot to say this like 2 weeks ago or whatever when I was supposed to, and so I'm going to say it now. In 2021, what I'm doing is buying a new $40 TIE Fighter every time I gain 10,000 subscribers. So right now I already have 3 of them, right? So that's at 330,000 subscribers is about where I'm at now. So when I hit 340,000, that'll add another one to the list. And so when the year ends, we'll tally it up, and however many TIE Fighters I have to buy out, I'll have at that point, or buy at that point. And then what I'm going to do is, because everyone keeps giving me crap for stacking my TIE Fighters, I'm going to stack as many TIE Fighters as I earn, I guess, of the $40 TIE Fighters you can see back there. I'll have a picture on screen. I'm going to stack them as high as I can, like however many I end up getting. So if I gain 200,000 subs during this year, for every 10,000, I'm buying another TIE Fighter. Let's say that's going to be 20 TIE Fighters. I'll get the 20 TIE Fighters, and I'll stack them up 20 high, and then I don't know what I'll do exactly with that, but I just thought it would be funny. Plus, I have like 11 months to flesh out the idea, so we're going to run with it. That's what I'm doing this year. Every 10,000 subs is another TIE Fighter to the stack that will end up at the end of the year. And that was kind of a viewer suggested thing. I heard PewDiePie did something like that. So yeah, I guess it's kind of inspired by that. I had no idea he had done something like it, but someone was like, yeah, PewDiePie did something like this. You should do it like this. I'm like, okay, I'll do it like that. Alexander Rutten says, why doesn't LEGO release a TIE Bomber, Reaper, Interceptor, etc. instead of the same old generic TIE Fighter? So the answer to this question comes down to a interview I saw with the LEGO Star Wars guy, designer guy, where he basically said that, like, with some, specifically the TIE Bomber he was talking about, to make a play scale TIE Bomber, it would cost too much money, right? So like the set would be too expensive for what they feel like they could do with it, I guess play feature wise, to impress the kids that would want to buy it or whatever the case is. Plus it's only in one movie and a brief scene or whatever it is, so it's like not iconic enough, I suppose, to like have a $90 or $100 price point or whatever that was kind of inferred, because at that point the other TIE Fighters were like $70, so you can only infer that a TIE Bomber would be more expensive. expensive. They're like, hey, we got to save those price points for like only the most iconic and big things in the Star Wars universe. So yeah, I think it's come down to like a price issue at this point with sets like that, which is kind of odd. Like you could always do a downscaled build. Like I've seen really good mock-ups of like the TIE Interceptor based on the newer set. I think just using pieces from the newer set. So it's not like a TIE Interceptor or something couldn't be done. And to that point, a TIE Interceptor basically was done in 2019 for $70. So it makes sense that didn't happen, I guess, because they kind of had one in red. But yeah, TIE Bomber specifically is because it would be too prohibitively expensive for them for whatever reason, because they can't scale down the build enough or include enough play features for what the price would be. I have no idea, but that is a thing that they apparently think about, and I guess it makes sense. And the original one is pretty trash by today's standards. I mean, I love it nostalgically, but objectively it just is not good anymore. So an updated version of that would be great, and maybe with some of these new like downscale minded sets, they could do something like that under $80, and then it maybe works. Rogue Jedi says, what is your least favorite LEGO Star Wars packaging you've seen, but the set was great? I think the prime example that comes to mind is like the 4500 Snowspeeder, right? Like you can see how the presentation of this set from one box art style to another really changes how you might feel about the set. At one point, LEGO tried to have this like uniform box art across all of their themes with this like weird blue thing. Didn't work, in my opinion. It was bad. But they also had the original trilogy edition box art for some of those sets that looked substantially better on pretty much all of them, right? So you go from this weird blue thing and it's just like, that's not, I don't know, it just doesn't give you that Star Wars feel versus the original trilogy box art edition of those sets, which looks substantially better. So yeah, I think that's a great example of like, I guess bad box art with still good sets inside of them, and you can directly compare it to good box art with the same sets in them. Standoff says, what is the best and cheapest method of getting LEGO Stormtroopers? I wasn't interested in Star Wars theme for a long time, but I've seen a few of your videos and I'm kind of interested. Well, welcome into the hobby, my man. And the best, cheapest way is if like a battle pack were to release, and I don't believe one is going to be releasing this summer, maybe in 2022, but that's not really going to help you here. There is in summer of 2022 a set coming that's going to have 2 Stormtroopers plus a Mortar Trooper. It's like the Marauder from The Mandalorian Season 2, and it's going to be $40. So in that set, you can technically get 3 Stormtroopers for only $40. But there's also this great website called bricklink.com, and you can go on there and search by minifigs and find Stormtroopers on there. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to cost each, but that right now is probably the best way if you want to buy a bunch of Stormtroopers to buy them in bulk at a reasonable price. So that's bricklink.com. I'll even link down below for you a direct page to the newer style Stormtrooper if you're interested in those. And they did come in a battle pack a couple years back, but you definitely missed the boat on that because that would have been the cheapest, best way to get those for you, because you could have got 3 Stormtroopers plus a Shadow Trooper or whatever for $12 at one point at Target.com. They were down that low, $12 for that $20 battle pack. You could have amassed a pretty cheap army for that, but unfortunately, I guess you missed that. But yeah, I'll link that down below. That's easily the best way. Conehead says, do you think LEGO will make more Rogue One sets? I think LEGO is open and able to make anything at any time. So to answer it, yes, eventually they will make more Rogue One sets. But in reality, what's actually going to happen in the next couple of years is you have the Andor show coming out. I don't remember if it's 2022 or 2023, but whichever it is, it doesn't matter. LEGO is going to produce sets based off whatever shows Disney Plus is making, and so Andor, of course, is going to be running like really close to Rogue One, like it's in that same vein, like with the Rebellion and everything. So they'll make sets from Andor, which are going to be close to Rogue One because it's all kind of in the same sub-universe, if you will. You'll probably get another U-Wing out of that. Maybe if we see Director Krennic pop back up, we'll see his shuttle again or something else from him. So we'll see stuff like that from that show, but maybe not the movie specifically for quite a while. So this is kind of an interesting one. He says, when you buy LEGO sets during the COVID pandemic, do you disinfect them to make sure there are no germs on them? My dad insists on this, and my TIE Fighter box got ruined. What do you do? I don't do anything. I don't find myself really like worried about a box that I get. And plus, I've handled tons of boxes in the last year. Like it's too late for me if that was a big problem, I guess, and I haven't had an issue. I mean, that's definitely like a good precautionary measure. It's unfortunate that it's affecting your box. If you care about the boxes, I could see that being a big deal. I care about my boxes personally. I wouldn't like ruin them. I don't know how exactly you're disinfecting them that's ruining them. You might want to do some internet research on how to do it better. I think an alternate thing you could do possibly is just like leave the boxes outside or whatever for however many days you would need to be sure it's safe or whatever the deal with that is. But I personally don't do anything. If anyone in the comments just wants to help this guy out, go wild. Sorry your box got ruined, but yeah, I couldn't tell you what the deal with that is. Mad Max says, where do you find all of your unofficial LEGO info, leaks, prices, etc.? My unofficial LEGO info comes from my good buddy, Lego Bob 35. The only source that matters. Keaton Terry says, what is your favorite all-time Star Wars minifigure? 463 likes on this comment. This is, of course, an answer that can change, I guess, from time to time, but I'm still riding high on Chrome Vader from 2009. I thought that was just an excellent minifigure with the shininess of his outfit and armor or whatever. So, yeah, Chrome Vader still reigns supreme for me. That may change here in summer of 2021. There are some really good minifigures coming, like Gar Saxon, I think I may really love. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I really like that Chrome Vader, but I think it's time for a new favorite. FX Cloud says, what's a set you want most that doesn't exist yet? Definitely UCS Venator. I've tackled this one a billion times, and I'm actually getting one in the mail from Republic Bricks, his custom one, so that actually may be a great substitute for me because it's kind of what I've always envisioned in my head of what I would want LEGO to release, basically like a $400 size Venator. Obviously his costs more because it's custom built and sourced, but it still is a really good looking Venator. I've yet to build it and I'm really excited to review it, but keep an eye out for that on the channel. I'm really hyped for that UCS Venator, and that's definitely like the set I will answer this question every time with UCS Venator. Aaron Castillo says, what do you think of the new CMF being Marvel and not Star Wars? So if you're unaware, there is a strong rumor that I've known about for a while now that LEGO Marvel will have a CMF series later this year in 2021, which essentially confirms my theory videos that Star Wars CMFs can happen and very likely will happen within the next year or two, probably in 2022 at this point, with 2021 being filled out with Looney Tunes and Marvel rounding out the year. So what do I think of it being Marvel and not Star Wars? Well, one of them had to be first, and Marvel is first, so I don't like think that's a bad thing inherently. Like, just one's gonna come before the other, whatever. But yeah, I think it opens the door. I've thought the door has been open for the last 6 months. You've seen the videos I've put out on my conspiracy theories on it. I've really connected the dots on it. I think I had it down 3 or 4 months ago or whatever, but this, I mean, to me, all but confirms it. Like, the contracts LEGO had with Disney previously didn't let them make Marvel and Star Wars CMFs, and now they're making a Marvel CMF. It can only be reasonably concluded that they can make a Star Wars CMF too at this point, and plus all the other evidence I've thrown at you over the last 6 months with those little conspiracy videos, like, I think it's pretty obvious what's going to be happening in the next year or two. And that is going to do it for Ask M&R episode 158. If you guys enjoyed, a like, it's greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and if you're a Browns fan, I'm sorry.
Trying to defy that. There's a hit at the 5 to Higgins. He lost the football as he reached for the pylon.